Good morning, boys and girls. It's so good to be with you again. Let's have our morning hug. Now, this week on Sunday, we had a special day. It was Valentine's Day. And we talked about last week about caring and showing love for our parents, our family, and having a caring day on Valentine's Day. So I want to talk a minute about families. I've talked about my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, but there's another part of your family, and you all have these too. You have brothers and sisters, and they're called your siblings. Now, when you have brothers and sisters and you play together when you're young and you have so much fun together, and then you grow up to be adults, and you get married, and you have children. Well, Mrs. Deitz has two sisters, and those two sisters have some children. And they're my nieces, and I have one nephew. I have two nieces, and I have one nephew. Now, I have lots of great nephews, and then because Mrs. Deitz is a little bit older, but my one nephew who lives in New York City and is very special to Mrs. Deitz, this week she got a surprise from him. He sent her a pillow. You see the pillow? And on the pillow, and I'm going to turn it around to read it, it said, "Between the pages of a book is a lovely place to be." And what that means is that when you read a book, you can pretend, you can visit places all over the world, you can do so many things. And that's why Mrs. Deitz loves to read stories to you and has done your library time now for several years. So Mrs. Deitz wants to give her nephew a great big thank you. And can we all give him a great big hug for also loving books? His name is Adam, and he is very special. Now, today, the book that we're going to read is again about families, because Mrs. Deitz feels that families are so special, and they love each other, and they take care of each other. Well, today, there's something that sometimes happens to all of us. When we go to sleep at night, sometimes we have bad dreams. And those aren't very pleasant. But you know there's a way that we can help those bad dreams. The story today is called I Had a Bad Dream. Now remember, Mrs. Deitz, because her eyes are getting older too, Mrs. Deitz has to read the book, and then she will show you the pictures. And she always shows you these pictures. So first we have to start at the beginning, so let me find the first page. The little boy in our book is named Jason. Jason's brother was afraid of the dark, but not Jason. Here's Jason, and here's his little brother. Remember, we talked about family, and Jason loves to take care of his little brother and play with him. And Jason loves the dark, to see the stars in the sky and the moon. But his little brother is just a little bit afraid. So Jason helps his big brother not to be afraid. Jason's brother was afraid of the big dog behind the tall fence. But not Jason. Look at the big dog. And Jason's brother's a little bit afraid of that. But Jason just looks at that big dog and smiles. He's not afraid of the big dog. See the little brother? The little brother's trying to leave. But Jason's showing his little brother that you can be kind to the big dog. Sometimes Jason's brother was afraid to go in the wading pool. But not Jason. He was teaching his brother how to have fun in the water. See the wading pool? And sometimes his little brother didn't want to go in that water, but Jason is showing him how to be not afraid of the water and maybe even have a little bit of fun in that water. Jason loved the water. When he took a bath, he always had a good time. One night, he was in charge of all the ships at sea, a tanker, a freighter, 3 sailboats, and a steamer full of passengers. Jason scooted back and forth in the water. He made the waves that rocked the boats. The waves sloshed and splashed over the edge of the tub. Look here, Jason's in the tub, but he's making waves, and that water move till he gets it on the floor. I wonder if Daddy's going to be very happy. See all the boats? Mrs. Deitz's children, when they were little boys, used to play with the boats and things in the water. They used to make the boats float. The steamer started to sink. The passengers needed his help. Just then Jason's father appeared in the doorway. He looked very tall. "Jason," he said in a stern voice, "stop that splashing. The floor is covered with water. It's time for you to get out." Jason had to get out of the bathtub and stop playing. He felt bad that he could not rescue his passengers. See, and Daddy's got his hands on his hips, which means he means what he says. Jason, get out of that water. So Jason takes his towel and dries himself off and gets out of the water and listens to what his daddy has to say. When Jason was in bed, his father read him a story. It was a story about a hero named Jason who sailed in a boat called the Argo. Jason fell sound asleep. Look how Jason's imagining the big boat that his daddy is reading him about. And he's imagining that he's the Jason climbing up the tree. So Jason's had a pretty exciting day, but he is so tired. Look here, he goes right to sleep. Shh, we don't want to wake Jason up. In the middle of the night, Jason had a dream. He dreamed his brother was drowning. Jason was the only one who could rescue him. To reach his brother, Jason first had to go through a dark, scary place. Jason was brave. He had to walk past a big, scary dog. For Jason, that was easy. See, here's his brother, and Jason's going to help his brother. Here's the big dog. But these are all in Jason's dream. He's having the dream in his head while he is asleep. But he's getting a little bit scared of all of these things. Then he had to step into the water without waking up a sleeping giant. Oh, a giant! Do we have giants? But we have giants in storybooks, and we read stories about giants, and sometimes giants can be pretty scary. Jason moved very quietly, but when he stepped into the water, his foot made a splash. The splash woke up the sleeping giant. The giant reached out to grab Jason. Now remember, this is all in Jason's dream, so it's kind of a scary dream. Jason woke up. He felt afraid. but he didn't know why he was afraid. Then he remembered his dream about the sleeping giant. Have you ever had that happen? Where you have a bad dream and you wake up all of a sudden? And then Jason remembers what his bad dream was about. That it was about the sleeping giant. Now, how do you think Jason's going to feel better? Let's see what Jason does. Jason went and woke up his father. I had a bad dream, he said. Jason's father put his arms around Jason. Jason began to feel so safe again. Here's Daddy. And see how Daddy's arms make him feel safe? We can have Daddy's arms, Mama's arms, Grandmama, Granddaddy, Aunt, Uncle, our brothers or sisters. All of their arms can make us feel very safe again. They went to look at Jason's brother. He was fast asleep in his own bed. It was just a dream, said Jason. Now where is that sleeping giant, said his father. Jason thought of a place. In the bathtub, he said. Look here, the silly giant in the bathtub. Here's the little brother sound asleep. But Jason realizes now that he's looking at his brother. Do you think he's going to find the giant in the bathtub? Let's see what Jason finds when he goes to the bathtub. But there were only boats in the bathtub. The sleeping giant wasn't there. It was just a dream, said Jason. He put the passengers back into the steamer and set it on the shelf. Then he went back to bed. Was Jason afraid to go to sleep? See here? Here's all of the boats still in the bathtub. So Jason puts them up so he can use them again tomorrow night, and he goes back to bed. Do you think he's afraid to go to sleep? Let's see what happens. Not Jason. He wasn't afraid. Look what Jason does. He goes sound asleep. So this is also a story, not just about being afraid of bad dreams and how you can get rid of them, but it's a story about how special your family is and how your family can always make you feel better. Just like my nephew made me feel so good because he took the time to send Mrs. Deitz a special pillow. Goodbye, boys and girls. I'll see you again next week.